All right, welcome to the Eggcast TFP podcast. I just like the Eggcast vibe. We were kind of joking about hanging out with Eileen in her egg chairs, and then we sat in them. So, moral of the story, if you have the opportunity to sit in an egg, do it. If you have the opportunity to come hang out with Eileen and...
Do it.
Yeah, have a conversation with Eileen in an egg. And it's appropriate because, I made this connection when we first talked about these egg chairs. One of Eileen's famous sayings in our little circle is...
Someone being a good egg.
Someone being a good egg. So, and by the way, she said that about you, Owen, and you, Salo. So...
I might have said it once or twice about you.
I say it right back at you. So, we had our TFP meeting. We were in Boulder. Obviously, Eileen's one of my very best friends and someone I, look up to and someone that I, hang out with and do life with. And everything started out as a client, and then now she's like literally one of my very best friends. So, we were like, let's just go do a podcast with Eileen. Because if you have the opportunity to have a conversation with Eileen...
In an egg chair,
you do that. So, anyway, let's have a little bit of a conversation.
All right.
Two directions that I want to go.
Okay.
We can either go through the corporate environment that you absolutely love...
I might say, okay, what's the other alternative?
And here's the thing, and maybe this is the route that would be more applicable for people. I was thinking about you with everything that you went through recently with Magnus.
Yep.
And you're also this thing called a medical doctor. So it's not like mortality is a foreign concept. But yet this one hit so much closer to home, like literally. Sure. And so I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about, I often use the scenario if you took everyone that you loved or your family or your close ones and you put them in a bird cage over a pit of lava, could you do whatever it is that we're talking about then? And then almost everybody says yes. And then I asked the question, why do we always wait for the birdcage over lava? Why do we always have such negative things push us into what we could have, should have, wanted to do all along?
Right.
And I think there's some of those decisions and awakenings happening with you. I loved what you said when you went through this and you realized how like life was impacting, and you're just like, you know what, we just saw Taylor Swift.
Oh, God.
I'm going to fly my daughter to LA and we're going to go see Taylor Swift again. Life's too short for giving a crap about all that. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, mortality, waiting, playing small, playing big, understanding risk. Like, what's it all for? The little things in life that are easy to have a quick conversation about.
Right. Or the things that seem little but aren't so little.
Exactly.
Wow, that's unpacking a lot in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it might make me emotional. I think, for those of you who don't know, Magnus is one of my son's best friends from childhood, and he was killed in a tragic biking accident about 2 weeks ago, just over 2 weeks ago. And he was killed on the Diagonal Highway just outside of Boulder. And when I got the call that he was at the hospital undergoing surgery, I knew he wasn't going to make it. And the next few days processing with Connor were challenging, but he did a really good job sort of just talking about how he's feeling. And one of the questions he asked me is like, the next day we went golfing just to kind of have a distraction and to do something that we both loved and be outside and not just be thinking about things, but actually be moving our bodies and be able to kind of process through stuff. And I was kind of upset when we were driving to golf. And he's like, Mom, are you going to be okay? And I was like, actually, no, I'm not okay. With some of the stuff, it's hard to ever be okay with a 17-year-old losing his life in such an unnecessary way. We still don't know exactly what happened, but they think it was distracted driving. So please, note to self, get off your phones when you're driving. But the thing that was, I think, from all of this that's come out of it is at the memorial service, 3 of his cycling coaches. So he was destined to be on the USA cycling team. He was already a member and was going to graduate from high school 6 months early to actually join the USA biking team and start competing internationally more often, but he was already competing internationally. And his coaches talked about, with this happening, to not be afraid to ride your bike and to not go into your shell and to not just sit around and be sad, but to live like Magnus. And for a 17-year-old, he'd raced a ton, he traveled the world, and they would say, like, when he was in the middle of a race, like, he'd stick out his tongue and they knew it was like, okay, it's game on. And so the message that they gave at the memorial service, like, some of his friends told a lot of mischievous stories about stuff that he had done that I think his parents didn't even know about, like the drifting in the snow and stuff with his car. And I asked Connor, I'm like, did you go on a few of those drifting adventures? He's like, not as many as they did. I'm like, I'm glad you went on a few and had fun memories with your friend. But he has definitely, another friend told something about him going shopping at Target, and she gave like a top 10 list of things that he would approve of. And one of them was go into Target and treat the whole store as if it's your own dressing room. I was like, that's pretty funny. But the takeaway message was that not to live small, but to live big for him, play the game of life full out. And the takeaway message was ride for Magnus. So ride your bike, do whatever you do big. And Greg and I talked about that a little bit afterwards. And it was a good reminder that, you know, sometimes we get caught up in the day-to-day and the things that are holding us back because we have so many things that we have to do that are kind of routine. And it's so important to remember in the big picture, sometimes like your comment about the little things, but sometimes the little things are the big things, especially time with your friends and family and doing things that really light you up from inside. Some of the stuff I'm doing right now with corporate work lights me up a little less. And it's a good reminder to put things in perspective and figure out what your purpose and what your passion are, and to really gravitate towards things that awaken you to your true purpose.
Yeah. When it's so interesting how wide-reaching the roots of a life go. And I think that's one of the things that started really kind of hitting me and putting it into perspective for me, because, and you know, we've had this conversation so many times. I remember when, you know, I was coaching Eileen regularly, she would tell me certain things about her kids. And then I'd just be like, whatever, just do it anyway. Like, and she's like, you're not a parent.
You don't understand.
So you don't, and I literally was like,
I get it.
I'm so well read, and it's just so interesting because I had no idea just the level of wrongness I was at when it was like the worst coaching in that moment was happening, and for whatever reason she gave me grace, which I certainly appreciate. But the thing that has happened for me and with me being a parent is, like, for instance, when we're watching the Disney videos now, we're no longer the hero of the story, and we're no longer looking at it from the perspective of the kid. Like, we just watched the Anastasia movie, which is actually a pretty good movie.
I don't think I've seen it.
And, you know, she gets lost as a young girl, and she's really the princess, and she gets reunited with her grandmother at the end of it. And Kayla and I are like sitting there crying, but we're like thinking about what it would be like to see Conrad again
if he got lost.
But we were no longer the young person in the story. We were the authority figure or the parent or this. And you know, I never met Magnus. And for anybody who's out there who's curious, his full name's Magnus White. There's a GoFundMe to help the family get through this. They had to charter a jet because the mom wasn't even here, just so she could get back in time to say bye. I mean, I was reading some of the stuff, and it was just...
It's gut-wrenching.
It really is. And I was just like you were saying, like...
And so much of it was on CNN and ESPN and BBC and all these like massive news stations. They're talking about this like supreme athlete, and I'm like, yeah, but it's just Magnus, the kid who used to sit and eat grilled cheese sandwiches at my kitchen table, because he spent lots of nights at my house in his childhood, and he's just a kid to me, not this like famous superstar. And like you talked about him influencing a lot of different groups. Like I think at the memorial service there were probably over 500 people there, and it was because there was a lot of influence, because there were kids that didn't necessarily know him well, but that looked up to him because of what he had accomplished in his young years, and what he stood for in Boulder and in the cycling organizations, both locally as well as worldwide.
And you were saying that the dad...
Oh my God.
The dad and he were like best friends. They
Totally.
rode together.
Yep,
that
all
was
the
like
time.
their thing.
Yep.
And it occurred to me, I was sitting there with Kayla, and I mean, if you guys really know me, even a little bit, you know what Eileen means to me. So basically, if she's hurting, I'm hurting. Like, she's literally, I love this woman. And so I was watching, I can't remember what Kayla and I were watching, but we're sitting in my office, and then Eileen and I were kind of texting back and forth, and Kayla looks over at me, and I'm just sobbing. And she's like, what's going on? And it was when you sent me the first article. And I tried to read it to her like an idiot, and I got like two
Choked
sentences in, and I just said, can you read this? Then she starts crying. And then we just thought of if your life is a tree, the root system goes so much deeper than I think anyone realizes.
Right.
So this kid that I never met, I am now sitting there thinking of it from the perspective of a father, and thinking of it like, my kid's not even 2 and I love him that much. What if I had 15 more years of memories?
Right.
And you really don't know how and who you affect. And I think to, just honor Magnus's memory, I love that the takeaway message kept being, ride for Magnus, move your life, live your life.
Play big.
Play big.
I mean, it was such a great takeaway message for the kids, because I think so many of the kids and the parents were really struggling with, how do you process this? And to have it be a takeaway message that felt so incredibly positive, instead of like, wow, this just all really sucks. It could be, how do you be intentional and make choices in your life that would honor his memory?
Yeah.
It feels a whole lot more like you can do something good out of the bad that happened, instead of just being sad and angry.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, from a coaching perspective, one thing that we talk a lot about is, that I ask my clients all the time is, why does it mean so much? Like, you have to control the meaning.
Right.
So like, for instance, if you have someone cut you off in traffic, instead of going and getting mad and flipping the bird and doing all of this stuff, it's like, ask yourself, why does it mean so much to me that I need to expend so much energy going and being negative to this person?
Well, I would say even in this case, like, a lot of people are really angry at the girl who hit him, or the woman who hit him. She's a 23-year-old. She's an immigrant to the United States, and I don't know the whole story, and people really want to know exactly what happened. And the reality is, it doesn't really matter exactly what happened, because at the end of the day, her life will never be the same. Her life is ruined because she took another life. And being angry at her doesn't serve me.
No.
And channeling my energy into my son's healing and into supporting Magnus's family is so much more valuable. But I think some people sometimes don't know how to channel their energy.
I agree. Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing is learning to control the meaning. And I think, because you and I end up playing air traffic control for a lot of people's lives, there's so many times where, in our infinite wisdom, we draw these conclusions and we think, oh, this is why they're doing this, or this is why they haven't this, or this, and we have like, because,
our construct is different than
so
theirs.
smart. And then, and then when we find out the truth, we're like, oh my goodness, I couldn't have been more wrong.
Right.
And that's the case is we attach, that's what humans do in in a really good way and unfortunately in a really bad way. We attach meanings to everything.
Right.
You know, like this watch means something to me. This shirt means something to me. And it's the varying degrees. Like, and kind of going back into I can't remember if it was one of my podcasts or my live that I did, but when I called you and I was just like, you know, we just need to hang out because I just want to make memories with my friend. Like, I don't care about business I care about business strategy. To be very clear, I want to build awesome businesses that make an impact. But it's like, I also want to do it with a friend that I know. And that means you have to remember to like live your life. You have to remember to play big, not just at what you do, but who you are.
Well, so to your point, to kind of elaborate on the Taylor Swift story. So the day of the memorial service, Claire goes, Mom, I really want to go to Taylor Swift on Wednesday night for the last date of the tour. And I was like, this is ridiculous. All right, let's go. She's like, really? And I was like, maybe, let me look. And so I started looking at reservations, and it was ridiculous, but I ended up being able to make it work. So I stayed at my friends from medical school's house. Like, one of my friends picked me up. We borrowed one of their kids' cars. So I had a place to stay. I was able to use miles for the flights.
Yeah.
And so the only thing I had to do was pay for the tickets, which were ridiculously expensive. And it is a night she will never forget because Taylor announced her Taylor's version 1989, and there were all these outfit changes, and they played one of Claire's favorite songs. For those of you who don't know, that she plays 2 acoustic surprise songs. The second one was like Claire's favorite song, and she was like, I can't believe she played. Anyway, it was a really magical night, and she'll never forget it. And then when I got home, I felt bad because Connor didn't get to go, and so he ended up getting fitted for golf clubs. So there's, you know, because it means then we're going to play more golf together. And
Darn.
so, yeah. So some of the decisions that you make when you realize that tomorrow isn't promised and time isn't infinite,
Yeah.
that craft a story for your future where you get to spend time with the people that matter the most to you.
Amen.
The money doesn't matter. It's really the experiences.
And I think I've spent so much time like putting out fires, whether they're
For other people.
Of other people, of my own making, you know, proxy fires.
Just stop. Let's just stop with the fires.
Yeah, and that's when I just realized, and that's why like I called you like after the Magnus thing and me, like I had this whole idea of like, okay, well we're so seemingly consistent on things that we say matter, like our finances and our business and learning and personal growth and courses. It's just like, are you consistently calling your mom?
I had dinner with my parents last night.
I know you are one of those, but are you consistently hanging out with your friends? Are you consistent? And I was just thinking of like all the people that just really matter to me. And I'm just like, I don't spend nearly enough time with those people. And, you know, some of them, like one of the things that Kayla said that I thought was great, she said, I wish all of our Canadian friends lived closer to us. And I said, well, that's a little selfish. What about us living closer to all of our Canadian friends? She's like, yeah, but like then it's even colder. I'm like, that's fair.
Depends on the time of year, but yes.
But it's all about that. And then so we were just, you know, thinking a lot of times we take for granted what we have right next to us. It goes back to what I say to people all the time. No one believes the prophet in their backyard. And so it's just like, I have access to you all the time, so why would I just stop by and do a podcast? Because we could just schedule it. Like, it's easy, right? And it goes back to
But we don't.
Exactly. And then it's kind of like what Jim Rohn says. He says, you know, I love this because I think everyone can take something away from this lesson. Is he says, an apple a day keeps the what? Doctor away. And he says,
you shouldn't then eat an apple a day if you want me to.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess in your case that's fair. But he says he goes that's easy enough, right? And he goes the saying does not in fact say a Snicker bar a day. No, that's not how it's an apple a day. He goes, the problem is that's easy. But if it's easy to do,
it's easy not to do.
It's easy not to do.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. We get into this idea of tomorrow being promised, and when you really truly understand, no one has ever seen tomorrow. We don't even know if it actually exists because we've only ever been in today.
But we're glad when we wake up tomorrow.
Heck yes, we are glad when we wake up. And that's the thing, is just being so much more present in life. Like this morning, I'll use one of your words, I reconnoitered my schedule. This is what happens when you really know people. You can use language that only you've heard them use. But just so that I can see Conrad in swimming lessons. Now, do I need to go to that? No, Kayla's taking him. She's the one getting in the water, and oftentimes, like, right when he's done.
It adds joy to your life every time you go.
I've got pictures that I can now send to her.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him, like, today, like, the first time he was, like, okay in the water. Now he's becoming a little fishy. Like, he's loving it. He went down the slide, and he was having fun, like, just splashing into the water. And it's those moments, the little moments that are really the big moments.
Yep, for sure.
And, like, the little moments of, you know, when I first met you at this thing down in Castle Rock, it's like, I wasn't super excited about that. And then you were running into traffic, and you weren't super excited about it.
It was raining, and I had charts left, and I was like, why am I going to this dumb thing on a Monday night?
And now we both know exactly why we went there.
Right.
It seemed like a little blip in the radar, but like that night changed both of our lives.
For sure.
And it's those things, being open to the idea of you're one conversation away from changing your life, being open to the idea of making the decision. Like, everyone is a few decisions away from a completely different life. And I think that that's always the most interesting thing. I remember when I was in San Diego, and I just saw myself from like I didn't have a spare tire. I had like I was in a Miata, and I had a Jeep tire like around my waist. And that's the thing is and it was instant. I just made the decision. I'm not doing this anymore. And, you know, now we have TFP Life, which also, guys, this is just a little side quest. The green superfoods are the best greens I have ever tasted in my entire life.
What do you do with them? Do you put them in a smoothie?
No, I just literally put water and a shaker.
And you drink it by itself?
Water, shaker, drink it by itself.
Good.
It's man,
delicious.
It's the best. And everything's made in America, FDA, lab tested, everything. And it's just, when I was making my transformation or transition, however you want to say it, I was doing so much research on all of these things, and I just realized, you know, if I'm going to direct people to things that I know can help them, I want to really know.
Well, and I think the other thing is, you know, each person can do their own individual research, but it takes a lot of energy and effort to figure all that stuff out, and all the work and energy and effort that you put into finding the best, you know, collagen supplement and protein supplement and greens and pre-workout.
I'll tell you right now, there is not a better greens on the market. And then the other thing is, a lot of people don't know that there's 5 different kinds of collagen peptides that you can have. Mm-hmm. And most of the supplements that you take only have 2 to 3 of them. Ours have all 5. All 5. And especially, you know, I'm finding this out, I'm 38. Right when you get to 35, your skin starts doing different things than it used to when you were in your 20s. Take collagen sooner. But
I won't know till I'm in my 30s. But
I love it. I love it. So here's you know, we'll end here. You know, Eileen and I, we're gonna issue challenges to each other, which basically I'm just gonna make a bunch of declarations and make us.
So the other thing I want to add before you say this is there was a meme that I saw recently that kind of is about a lot of this stuff. Is just kind of your example of us meeting down in Castle Rock. There's a meme about how, isn't it so cool to think about how you haven't even met all the people that are really gonna love you?
Wow.
So by opening up your calendar or opening up your ideas and your mind to going to different and new places, because if you and I hadn't met each other, like, our lives would look really different. And like,
so different. Oh my God.
What's happened in the last 3 years?
I literally can't imagine a life without Eileen. That just feels wrong.
But if in the last 3 years we didn't have each other, things would look really different. I think we've only known each other for 4 years, a little over 4 years.
Yeah. Wow.
But the opportunity that if you keep going to things and you keep meeting new people, that you're going to meet people that are super significant in your life. And so just because you're getting older doesn't mean your circle has to shrink.
Exactly.
It can really grow.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't go into that mindset as they age. They think, oh, well, and I, like some of the things I've done in the last 6 months or a year, I've met more cool people than I would have ever imagined.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, sorry.
Kind of. No, sorry. I'm just saying if you believe in the law of attraction,
Yep.
if Eileen is on the move, she's going to attract awesome people. That's just who this woman is. We've been talking about this a lot. So Eileen and I are going to do a course together because we've been talking about the fact that, part of our problem is we have
Too freaking busy.
Well, two things actually. Too freaking busy, but we have a lot of experience and knowledge. So it's like there's a lot of times it's just like, okay, where do we start?
A friend of mine said that. She's like, you have a lot of things in your brain. Like, we got to channel that somehow. I was like, well, yeah, but what do we start with first?
Yeah, what do we start with first? So we're gonna do a course. The big challenge that I'm issuing to Eileen, that I'm, like I said, we're just gonna make a declaration that.
Are we gonna give ourselves a deadline? Let's do that.
Okay, a deadline. I'll say by, let's see. So
today is August 14th.
Let's do November 1st. Our course comes out. November 3rd. We gotta have it be at 3. November 3rd. Our course comes out. It'll be in the app.
It's the day before Connor's 18th birthday.
See, that's perfect. But here's the bigger thing, because this is my declaration for you. So
I have to create the course.
No. We'll create the course together. The course is a you and me thing. I've got something for you.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, I've got something for you. So, the digital version, and no, not AI generated. Maybe AI helped a little bit here and there, but the digital version of Eileen's book is going to be available before Christmas.
Okay.
Because this woman needs to get pushed to, and I'll tell you, once she gets one out, she's going to realize that she's got 400, but it's the real Britannica. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about the encyclopedia. It's what y'all young folks call Google. So, but she's going to realize that she's got so many things that, and I feel like the Genesis book that you put out is going to be the seeds for the next 30. And the world needs to know more about who you are and experience you, even if it's, you call the thing notes from a friend, and it's just stuff that you wish you would have told yourself 5 years ago. I don't care what it is, but I'm telling you.
Notes from a friend. So I'm going to come over to your house and do a podcast today, and then nationally on the podcast, I'm going to hold you accountable to writing a book by Christmas. You're welcome.
Yeah. Nudging a little bit. And hey,
that's like a kick in the pants.
And there's going to be a great course coming out. I do have an idea for the course that I think we should do. It's something that I think, because I've always said this, a lot of people are saying, don't do business with friends. Don't mix business and pleasure. I think if you can't do business with your friends, you need different friends. And I think...
Or you need to change your thoughts about business.
Yeah. And I think doing a whole course on helping people understand through tumultuous things, through the state government doing stuff, to career changes, to everything that happens, it's how do you stay on track, and then how do you stay friends and keep that high? Because I think having a course, Friends in Business, with two high-level people talking about how did they intertwine lives, how did they not quit when I love, this kind of goes back to what Jay-Z said, because Jay-Z and Beyonce were getting, and I've quoted this so many times, but they were getting interviewed, and they're like, how did you guys do it? You guys are worth over $1 billion together now. And he said, the only crazy thing that we did was not quit. Because he said, life gave us so many reasons to quit and throw in the towel. And then we found each other, and he goes, just so you know, if you think that when we got together and we were already Jay-Z and we were already Beyonce, if you think that life didn't give us still more reasons to quit, you would be wrong. And I think that people need to hear that, because when they see things us leading by example or moving the needle or this, and they're like, oh, well, must be nice. It's easy for you.
You're a doctor or you're a musician.
Yeah,
or
like,
you're a,
or like, so my question is, like, the last 3 years been pretty easy, right?
piece of cake.
It gave us 0 reasons to quit, right?
Exactly. Just cruised right along.
Sarcasm, just to be very clear. But I think that that's one of the things that is fresh and in some ways we're still going through, that, you know, the psychology behind friends in business, I think, is something that could help people at such an immense level, because most of the time you get into business with your friends, but then you make very weird things mean way more than they need to, and then you blow up the friendship or you blow up the business. Why not make both thrive?
Well, I think, too, one of the things that you and I talk so much about, and I think it's probably why we were able to get through a lot of this stuff together, is because both of us, you probably more than me, being a perseverance expert, but also just being able to have perspective that it's not going to be like this forever, that you can keep pushing through stuff and it's going to get better, or at least our plan is that it's going to get better. And then if you have to sort of course adjust throughout, because I think some people are so like, this is the way it has to be. There's no... Like,
and this is how it's going to happen.
well, and the how, like, I'm sure Greg would say, like, the beginning of coaching Eileen was all about the how. And
oh my God.
And I have definitely got somebody asked me today, how are you going to change all this? And I said, I don't know the how right now. I still need to figure out the what. And it's all going to work out. Yeah. So I just have to keep, right now I feel like what I need to do over the next couple of weeks for myself is kind of get quiet, because the last 6 or 8 weeks have been nuts.
Well, and I say this all the time. If you want to figure out the how, you got to figure out the who.
Yeah.
And part of
Well, I think for you and I, the who's easy.
Well, the who is super easy, but even going more introspective, I think for people like when the person was, you know, talking to you and saying whatever, and you're like, I don't know how, I'm still trying to figure out what, but like, it's going to work out. I don't have to worry about that. Because
I know who I am.
Who you are. Right. Exactly.
It'll all be fine.
And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people who are too focused on the how, they're not secure in who they are. And once you can get secure in who you are and connect to those things, and, you know, having the, like, how many times have one of us called the other one? It's just like, I need my coach right now. And make note, like, I started out her coach, like, now we coach each other all the time. Like, she's like, we need each other on, like, all the levels. And it's like, one time it's like,
but sometimes it's about parenting, sometimes it's about work, sometimes it's about...
Hey, I fell off my bike, what do I do? But it's that, hey, do, like, and we're really good, for the most part, but we're really good about telling or asking, okay,
here's what I need.
Am I putting on my coach hat right now, my friend hat, my mom hat, my doctor hat, who do I need to be to you or for you right now? And we've found that in each other, and we were able to see that in each other because when we look in the mirror, we see that in ourselves. We know who we need to be for our family, who you needed to be for Connor.
Well, and who you need to be for yourself. I think when you talk about, you know who you are, don't think it's coming from a place of arrogance, because that's not it. And I think you and I both know that.
Exactly.
But I think some people from the outside might see it as coming from a place of arrogance, but it's coming from a place of confidence, because you've done a lot of things where you haven't done it right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you learn from your own mistakes, but it's figuring out, okay, here's the things I'm good at.
Yeah.
Here's the things I'm not good at, and then I need to ask for help.
Yep.
And I think even being a family practice doctor, it's something I had to learn really early on in medicine. Some people are like, I have to have all the answers to everything, and if I don't, I'm just going to fake it because people think I need to know everything. Well, I learned very early on, because in family medicine, 95% of what walks through the door you can handle, and the 5% that doesn't, you need to know who to send them to.
Yeah.
But I think knowing what your limitations are, and knowing,
well, it's like
hiring a coach for the things that you're not good at, or having business partners for the parts. I mean, you talked about very early on that one of the things that's best about us is the things I'm not good at, you are, and the things you're not good at, I am.
We are a really good yin yang.
Yeah. And so I think working on your own personal growth to develop into the person that you need to become to have the life that you want, and then finding the right people to surround yourself with that can help you in the areas where you have deficits.
Yeah, and I think identifying the difference between evolution and revolution. Revolution, and just to bring this to a close, revolution is the birdcage scenario. Revolution is you get the call and your version of Magnus White happens, and it's the call that you don't want. So you can choose to either evolve and be around a supportive community and read books and do different things. You can choose to evolve and constantly take steps forward, or you can let life violently shove you into the next version of yourself. And I think that's
much less desirable.
It's much less desirable. So, from this, conversation, don't wait for the birdcage scenario. Don't wait for the phone call. Don't wait for the
divorce to happen, or the
heart attack.
Yeah,
because that's when you and you've probably seen this so many times as a
doctor.
As a doctor, yep. Is that's when people make all the decisions. Okay, I'm going to finally get my health in order. I just had a triple bypass. Man, we should have started sooner. And right. You're in Western medicine, and you were the first person to even bring the idea to me of preventative medicine is so much more important than curative medicine.
For sure, because it's actually true healthcare as opposed to sick care when you're treating something after the fact. But I think we call it healthcare, but it's really not.
Yeah,
and so working on prevention is way more important.
And that's in our thoughts, hire a coach, get your health in order, get around a community, and just like you said, if you want your version of friends in business and this kind of relationship. The only reason, neither one of us actually wanted to be at that event. But now, if I know now I would have been so excited to go to that event. Because I'm today's the day I meet Eileen. So you never know when you're going to meet. You're one conversation away from changing your whole life. But you got to be on the move. And you got to be willing to get to the places to have those conversations.
Yeah, to be vulnerable.
And be vulnerable. And for all you men out there, trust me. You're actually way more, vulnerability is a superpower. So don't be scared to be vulnerable and have the conversation. And you don't have to have it all figured out. Don't be scared to just raise your hand and be like, I really need help on that subject.
No question is a dumb question if it leads you to the next stage.
Amen. So thank you so much, Eileen, for coming on the Final Percent podcast or the Final Percent Eggcast. And
These kind of look like pods.
Yeah. Oh, this is the new. I need some of these now. These are going to be at the summit.
They're a little heavy to carry, but.
We'll just attach them straight to the ceiling. It'll be great. But one of the things that if you found any value in this podcast, share it. That's the best way. We do these things for free, and. This is, just so you know, this is what my Remarkable said. I didn't know if I was going to have to take any notes or anything.
It doesn't say anything. It just says TFP on the front.
It says TFP Remarkable. It says is sleeping. But, I came over here knowing who Eileen is to me and the knowledge that she can share. And, when she sat down, she said, what are we talking about? I said, I don't know. And then Salo looked at me and he goes, okay, we're rolling. And then we just started. And we just had a conversation. And so you gotta be in that place to where you can have a conversation. But we do these things for free. We have the production value. We have all of these things. So the best way that you can pay it forward is to share this podcast. And that's what we would love for you to do. And if you haven't yet, get on the Final Percent, because Owen is working so hard on our website. Get on thefinalpercent.com and sign up for our newsletter so that you can see all the cool things that we've got coming down the pipeline. We are in the midst of a really cool growth phase and growth spurt right now. So support us, and the best way for you to support us is literally just share. So thank you so much. I love you more. The final percent.